Hello Matrix Live and welcome to yet another episode about Beyond Matrix, Beyond Chat on Matrix. There's a lot of Beyond Chat episodes on Matrix these days, these weeks, but it's because there is a lot happening Beyond Chat on Matrix. My guest today is Youssef, who is a programmer and entrepreneur and who is working on a fancy project that we will talk about later in the episode. Youssef, welcome. You are here to talk about matrix-CRDT. Before we dive in the details, we're going to show a little demo of matrix-CRDT in action so people have a better idea of what we are talking about.
Oh, right. So this is a rich text editor similar to like Google Docs that's powered by Matrix. The editor itself is built in TipTap, which is a really cool open source project to build easy editors. And what you can see now is, okay, I can sign in with my Matrix account. So as usual, there's the home server, my Matrix ID, I enter my password. And there's a room alias, and this is the room name that stores the information of our document. So basically the location where our document is saved. So when I sign in, it will connect with the room. And here you see, okay, it's loaded the data from that room. Which means, okay, the matrix room is now the storage of the document. I can start typing. Welcome to the show.
It's appearing live on my document.
Nice. So we should be able to collaborate with each other.
Yeah.
So yes, there you go. So now you start typing. So I receive the updates as well. You can also edit your updates. And I see more and more appearing. Yeah, and this is all stored now in Matrix. Like in a second, I can show you, okay, how is this saved in the Matrix room? And I think with these collaborative applications, the main challenge is, okay, how do you handle conflicts? Can you work while you're offline? So there's a switch on top here. I can say, okay, I'm going offline for a bit. So now it fakes that I'm offline. So if I'm now, say, thanks for having me on the show. Now, I think it shouldn't appear on your end yet, right?
No, it's not appearing.
No, but at the same time, you could add like a sentence in your document.
Sure.
And of course, because I'm still offline, I don't see this yet. You're online, so it's probably synced your data to the matrix room already. Now, if I'm online, it will connect to the matrix room, and it should send my updates to you, and I see a new sentence in the document that you just typed.
Yeah, and I can see your sentence as well on my side. Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed because when I was typing "Hello Youssef," you just got the beginning of the sentence. You got "Hello Yos" when you started to bold it, and you just got the end afterwards, and it worked.
Yeah, so this is the complicated part. So when you go offline, online, or intermediate updates, yeah, when you're really developing applications where you want your users to collaborate live, but also being able to work offline. Those are two super complicated things to combine usually. And with matrix-CRDT and the underlying technologies, we'll talk about it in a bit. This is now, I wouldn't want to say super easy, but at least quite easy to set this up. So yeah, I'm really excited about this.
That's cool. And so you told me that everything we are seeing here on the screen is actually happening behind the scenes or stored behind the scenes in a matrix room. Can we have a look at how it looks like in the matrix room?
Yeah, for sure. So we just connected to a matrix room where this document is stored. And I can actually use elements to show it. And what will happen is when you start typing, I'll go up a little bit. So when I start typing or when you start typing, it will send the doc update, which is a special matrix event, to the room. And this really has all the data, which is looks like gibberish here, but it's it's base64 encoded data of the YJS CRDT update. And when your client has all these messages, it can recompose the entire document. So normally in Matrix, you won't see, you should keep this room hidden, and these messages will be hidden as special events, but now just for demo purposes, I've made them visible here. But this is basically how it works. So every time you type, so if you, for example, if you could type something now in the document.
Typing in the document.
Yeah, there you go. Now we see your updates coming in live, and these are small edits that you're making to the document.
Yeah, and so those events usually are not visible by chat clients. You made them visible, so it would technically be possible to use the same room for a conversation and for a document?
Yeah, so these are normally they're custom events in their own namespace. So normally you wouldn't see them in the chat room. So you could just chat normally in the room. Yeah.
Okay, fascinating. And so that's rich text collaboration. Can we do other kinds of collaboration?
Yeah, for sure. So you can use all kind of data models and connect them to matrix-CRDT, and different applications require different data models. So I have an example about of a to-do list as well. Let's see. So let me just go to the repository. The examples are right here. I can go collaborative to-do list. Open the live demo. And it's rebuilding this. Okay. And if I sign in, this works pretty much the same. Of course, I can use any room as long as it's public, or at least as long as my account has access. And this all uses the Matrix JS SDK. So the official Matrix SDKs for JavaScript. Now I connect, and now we basically have a collaborative to-do list. So I can say, okay, record demo. It's one of my to-dos. It adds it to the list. And you need to publish this awesome episode later. So we edit this at the same time. Again, it supports offline, online support, offline and online. So again, this is a collaborative application with a completely different use case, but built on top of the same technologies. That work with multiple users. They work when you're offline. They work fast, because when I add something here to do, it's instantly added here, and then it's syncing the data in the background. And whether that happens now or in 5 seconds or in 10 seconds or in the next day when I'm reconnected to the internet, doesn't matter. Everything happens fast locally, and then when you're connected again, everything from all the different users will sync back up.
Okay, fun little demo. It was cool. So this is all based on CRDTs. Can you tell us what CRDTs are?
Yeah, sure. So CRDTs stand for conflict-free replicated data type. It's kind of like a computer science term for a technology that enables developing distributed applications. What does that mean? I think traditionally, when building an app, you have like a central database or a central server that really all users or all collaborators in your app talk to. And CRDTs make it possible to build systems that work more in a decentralized way. And they take the interesting aspect of CRDTs. The C is from conflicts. When you're collaborating with multiple people, so like we just did in the demo, so on the to-do list or on a rich text document, it's quite complicated to actually build an application where you edit one thing and I edit another thing, and that things don't conflict with each other. So that we can both work in the same document, both both work with the application without it breaking.
Okay, interesting. And because I'm a very curious person, I've been browsing the matrix-CRDT GitHub, and you mentioned that it's a provider for YJS. So what is YJS, and what is a provider for YJS?
So YJS is actually a really cool open source project that it implements high performance CRDT. So a CRDT itself is only a concept, and there can be different CRDTs or different implementations. And YJS is a really cool one with very high performance, and particularly performs well for rich text, like we used in the demo.
Yeah. So it's YJS is a framework, so it's something that you can use to build apps, collaborative apps, I guess. And matrix-CRDT is a provider, so it's making the link between a matrix room to store the data and YJS, which is doing all the conflict resolution and providing everything the app needs for the collaboration, right?
Yeah. So with YJS, your data and the documents that you work on, they really, from the start, they would live on your computer. And then you can connect a provider that really shares the updates of the data that you're working on. So with matrix-CRDT as a provider, we can store the updates of your YJS data store inside a matrix room. And now, instead of normally when you have a matrix room, it's filled with chat messages or events. And with matrix-CRDT, instead of regular chat messages, we store updates to your data model in Matrix.
Okay, very interesting. So with matrix-CRDT and YJS, you can build anything collaborative, and the matrix room is a sort of file system file for your backend to store all the information. So why do you see Matrix as a good fit for this kind of document data storage and syncing?
Yeah, I think that's a good recap, by the way. But so it really started out. I'm working on a new project where I want things to be highly collaborative and also what we call local first. And maybe I can talk a little bit more about that later. But I want my application to work, basically, to summarize it, I want my application to work offline. I want it to be fast. But I also want it to be collaborative. So at the moment that I'm online, I want to live collaborate with other users. So I really started diving deep into what kind of CRDT technologies are useful for this. Started working on my application, really started building my application, and it made the CRDT libraries like YJS, made developing the application itself quite nice. But then you still need a way for those updates you need to transport them between users. So I was building the client application, and then whenever you're building an application at one point, you need to build like user management, you need to build a database, you need to have authentication. And having built multiple apps, I'm like, am I going to do all this stuff again, or is there a smarter way of going about this? And as I'm building like an open source project, I thought, maybe there is a good off-the-shelf solution that provides all this stuff for me, and can also act as a YJS transport. So that's why I started looking, maybe I can actually use Matrix for this. And turns out it was a really good fit. So I get all this stuff out of the box. I don't need to write my own backend anymore. I don't need to write my own user authentication. I can just reuse the stuff that Matrix already brings. Also, it's an open ecosystem, so there's multiple server applications. People are developing on it super actively. So besides, not having to do that groundwork, as we as we call it, it also comes with even more stuff that will be particularly interesting for developing CRDT collaborative applications. It's like end-to-end encryption, federation, and those are super complicated things to build yourselves. So I think especially those latter two make it a great fit.
Okay, so initially I thought that you had used Matrix just because it's a nice transport layer, but not only it's nice transport layer, it's secure with end-to-end encryption. The rooms provide a way for you to transport the information, but also to store it. So you use it as a sort of database, but you also rely on Matrix authentication to be able to authenticate users to your applications. So in the end, you just have to plug the CRDT framework and do the front end work for your application.
Yeah, I'm trying to challenge myself to stay away from writing and implementing a backend for as long as possible, even though
Right.
I've done that plenty of times. I think also the philosophy that you have like an out of the box backend solution super interesting. You can pick your own server, your own implementation, or you can use like the hosted element services. So I'm trying to stay away from that as long as possible for a new project. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So people might be calling me obsessed with it, but I'm really into Maximised Widgets because I think it's the next big thing. The demo we have been playing with earlier was an application in a browser, but it was not a widget in a matrix room. Do you think it would be possible to create an application with YJS and matrix-CRDT and to embed it as widget in Element or other clients which support widgets?
Yeah, we've already done some brainstorming about it in the Beyond Chat matrix room.
Cool.
And I think it would definitely be possible because you only need access to the log of events in the room. So would change compared to the demo is that if you're in a widget hosting environment, so Element or another chat client, of course you're already authenticated. So I think the SDK has access to those. To the messages, and then you can feed that into your YJS document. So that it should definitely be able to be possible to bridge that over.
Okay, so it would be possible, and you are brainstorming about it, but you have not really tried to do any implementation so far. So I don't know if you have an answer for the next question, but is there anything, if you are familiar with widgets, is there anything improvements you would like to bring or you would like others to bring to widgets or to the SDK so you can develop nice widgets for Matrix, maybe using CRDTs?
I'm not too familiar with the SDKs, with the widget parts yet. So yeah, so far I've really focused, okay, how can I use Matrix as a backend for my application and as a backend for my YJS store? And haven't really focused yet on, okay, how can I bring that application and host it inside a Matrix widget?
Okay. Another question I do have is how is it funded? Because it's a very interesting project, and most interesting projects tend to die if they are not properly funded. If people do it on their free time, not always, but it's really difficult to maintain a project on free time. So, is matrix-CRDT funded in any way?
Yes, so it's really started for me as an experiment. So I'll be open about that. But I think it's a super interesting path that I think can power the future generation of web apps. And so last year, NLnet, which is a Dutch foundation with EU backing, has decided to fund the project as part of like more efforts that I'm doing around CRDTs and around building collaborative software. So for that, they are sponsoring my work on matrix-CRDT, and that's super exciting because it's an organization that's really engaged with with their vision, or to bring to build up a better internet for its users, more secure, more private, so that's really nice to work together with them.
Yeah, I know NLNet. I know they are also funding Fractal, which is the GNOME Matrix client. Thank you NLNet for funding many cool Matrix projects. My next question is, matrix-CRDT is useful. So far it's been a cool toy to make demos. Do you have any projects to use matrix-CRDT in more commercial environments, or to do any product with it?
Yes, I'm. It really started as the basis of a new project that I'm working on, which is called TypeCell. And TypeCell is going to be a product which the first product of it, TypeCell Notebooks, is a live programming environment. With that, we hope to make programming a lot more simple and more live. I could give a short demo of it if you like.
Yes, certainly. Go ahead.
All right. Cool. Yeah. So thanks for asking me about TypeCell. This is one of the early demos, which really focuses on a live interactive notebook environment that wants to make programming more live and easy. In the long term, I really want to build some sort of like Notion, Google Docs experience on top of matrix-CRDT as well, and it's going to be part of the same project. But that's really long term. This really shows, like I explained, I didn't really want to build a complete backend. So this uses Matrix for the sign-in experience. So now I'm signed in with my Matrix account to this application, and I can create a new notebook. And a notebook is basically a document that's, because it's all backed by matrix-CRDT, so a notebook is backed by a matrix room. So this is the name of the matrix room where all this data is stored. And now I can also collaborate with multiple users on the thing that I'm programming. And this all happens live. So change this, and as I type, this code executes automatically, and that's really what I'm trying to build. If you can execute code automatically live as you type, or collaborate live with multiple users, I think you get a way easier way of understanding programs, and the easier way to build programs. So a little bit more advanced scenario. Let's see. So this shows a demo where we make a chart, and we ask the user for some input. So I'll come to the matrix. There's some code here. This code takes care of counting the different characters. So there's 2 M's in this sentence, 1 X, and here are some extra operations. And now as I type, collapse these. You can see the chart automatically updating live. So because of the reactive programming engine. So you don't need a complete compile, build, run cycle. It's really coding, typing, immediate feedback. To build these programming notebooks, and it supports React, as you can see. You can import npm libraries. So this is a charting library, a popular charting library. You can even import maps if I have it here. So I want to build this live notebook, live interactive programming environment for the web.
That's really impressive. You're giving me a chance to use my favorite English word. I'm flabbergasted. It's really Impressive. So you have all the building blocks to make the next Google Docs or to make a complete IDE online collaborative development environment online. And that's crazy.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's super exciting and all powered by exactly by these building blocks. And eventually I'll be super interested, and of course we're exploring this. Is okay if you can bring this live programming environment to documents as well. So you can see, okay, if I build a Google Doc now, or I have a Notion document, a Notion page, I'm limited to, okay, I can add a title, I can add a table, maybe in Notion I can add a little bit more complicated database, but by combining live interactive programming, I could also say, okay, maybe I want to add a map or a chart. Maybe you can develop part of it. So you can, really create your own documents. Want to build a community where people can share their ideas and really build great stuff, build great documents together.
Are you going to launch a commercial version of TypeCell? So will it be open source or will it be commercial? Do you want to make it as a service?
It will probably be both. So I want to make it open source, but probably there will be a hosted version as well. So if you don't want to host your own version, then that will probably be a paid version. Or if you want maybe like long term, if you companies want extra like enterprise security features, stuff like that, will probably be paid.
Very cool. So exciting to see that TypeCell is making use of Matrix like this. It looks like an interesting project. So I heard that it was based on something called SyncedStore. And what is the difference between SyncedStore, and YJS?
Yeah, SyncedStore is really a layer on top of YJS, and YJS can be a little bit complicated sometimes to get started with, and SyncedStore just really makes it easy for example, React or Vue programmers, to build these local first applications. And so the core is still powered by YJS. It takes care of all the complicated CRDT stuff. But then there's a layer of SyncedStore, and that makes it super easy to build React applications on top of YJS. So React applications with which you have like live collaboration, offline support, stuff like that. So if you look at the example source code, for example, of the to-do application, the React logic, the main logic, it's just written in, I think it's just like 50 lines of code, which is super short for a to-do application, let alone a to-do application that you can use with multiple users. And that's all because it connects with SyncedStore and because the backend is powered by Matrix. So just 50 lines of code to build like a collaborative application like that. Yeah, I think it's super exciting. That's yeah.
Yeah. So to summarize, you can write applications which are based on SyncedStore, so you make simple calls, and then SyncedStore itself is calling YJS to make all the heavy lifting when it comes to CRDTs, and YJS is itself calling matrix-CRDT as provider to store all the information and synchronize it between the users. That's it?
Got it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You're a good teacher. So you mentioned local first applications, and I think it's something very interesting, especially with my Matrix hat on. Federation is an important aspect of Matrix. Many things are local, so you have Matrix is just copying, getting your local copy of a Matrix room. So maybe there's a bit of overlap between what you're doing and what is Matrix doing. Can you tell us more about those local first applications? Why are they important? How does it work, etc.?
Yeah, the idea behind local first applications, and there's a great essay on it online. So if you Google it, I definitely recommend the further reading. But the core idea is that applications should work out of the box when you're offline. And that's kind of like 180 degree from what we have now, right? So now, like since the last 10 or 15 years or so, everything is supposed to be always connected. But in practice, that's not the case. Like whether you're like in tunnel, like reception is bad, or internet is flaky, or in a country where internet isn't that good, or abroad, um, you're not. People are not always connected. So why can't I do my work? Why can't I work on my documents or do whatever work I want to do just because there's a connection issue? Like there's this huge dependency on this. Furthermore, it's not just on the connection, but also everything is owned by like central providers. So if I'm now writing a document in Google Docs, for example, everything is constantly syncing with Google because it needs to do so to be live and to handle those collaborative scenarios. Now, if you go back, the theory or the philosophy of local first applications is that out of the box applications should work locally. And that means that they themselves need to handle and be better at handling conflicts, and the application need to be designed to be developed in a decentralized way. So that seems complicated, but with the technologies that we're discussing here, so matrix-CRDT, YGS, SyncedStore, makes it easier. And so it makes it easier to build local first applications, which are decentralized multiplayer applications that they keep working when they're offline. Because of that, you don't need to round trip continuously to the server. So they're also extremely fast because everything happens on your computer or mobile device. You can invite other users, and they're less reliant on these central actors, central servers. And I think that's very much in line with the matrix philosophy.
Definitely, I can totally see a parallel with Matrix and local first applications, and I think you hit the nail on the head because it's easy to make a centralized. Well, it's easier to make a centralized application. It's easier to just have a client and a server and everything centralized on a server, but it's also fairly dangerous, and that might be one of the reasons why the cloud is so powerful, because you just pay for a service, you go to service, and that just works, and you don't have to manage it. Matrix is a good protocol. It's an awesome protocol even, but it's not perfect. It has issues. Sometimes it can be slow on some things because it's more difficult to decentralize things properly. And I think that also explains why applications are not local first anymore. But I'm super happy to see that there is work going on with CRDTs, YJS, SyncedStore, etc. To change that. And I hope that you're going to be successful with TypeCell, and that it's going to allow you to fund more development on CRDTs, etc. Because it's a very exciting technology. Do you have any other final thoughts you would like to conclude the episode with?
No, of course, I'd love to hear experience from other people. Like I think last week we published a post on Hacker News. We saw a lot of excitement. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to feedback from people using this. Very much, I'm a big believer in this technology, but at the same time, it very much feels like we're still at the forefront. Let's call it that way. So we need innovators. We need people building stuff on top of this. We need to get experience. There's still a lot to learn. So I would like to invite you all over to give it a try, give feedback, maybe join the Matrix rooms, and hope to see you there.
Okay, so in the episode description, I'm going to leave a link to the GitHub, a link to the Matrix room, a link to the article you mentioned earlier on local first applications. Anything else to share with people?
I think we got it.
Okay, perfect. Then thanks a lot, Yusuf. That was a very interesting Matrix Live. Very excited to see where TypeCell and CRDTs are going in general. And Matrix Live, I'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks. See ya.